What if I told you 297 years of history never happened? That emperors, wars, and entire civilizations between 614 and 911 AD were fabricated, a grand illusion to rewrite time itself. Welcome to the Phantom Time Hypothesis, one of history's most bizarre conspiracy theories. I'm here to unravel this mystery, piece by piece, with shocking facts, expert insights, and a twist that'll leave you questioning reality. Let's begin. In 1991, German historian Heribert Illig dropped a bombshell. He claimed the early Middle Ages were invented by a conspiracy of medieval rulers and the Church. Why? To legitimize power by aligning their reigns with biblical prophecy. But how did he justify this? Fact 1. Illig's smoking gun? The Gregorian calendar. In 1582, Pope Gregory XIII deleted 10 days to fix the outdated Julian calendar. But Illig crunched the numbers. The drift caused by the Julian system should have required skipping 13 days. Those 3 missing days, proof, he argued, of 297 phantom years slipped into history. Fact 2. Then there's Charlemagne, the legendary king who supposedly ruled Europe for 46 years. But Illig called him a paper emperor. Chronicles describe Charlemagne's empire as a Roman-style superpower, yet his capital, Aachen, had no sewers, no large-scale infrastructure, and barely enough farmland to feed a village. If he ruled for decades, why is there so little physical evidence? Illig wasn't just a rogue scholar. He was part of a fringe group called the New Chronology, inspired by Russian mathematician Anatoly Fomenko, who claimed all ancient history was fabricated. While Fomenko's work is widely dismissed, Illig's focus on the Middle Ages struck a chord. Medieval scribes often recycled parchment by scraping off old texts, palimpsests, leading to lost records. Could this explain the gap? Or was it deliberate erasure? In 2002, a team restoring Aachen Cathedral found a 12th century fresco depicting Charlemagne, wearing 10th century armor. Illig's supporters declared it proof of forgery. Mainstream historians? Artistic license. The debate fuels endless conspiracy forums. If 300 years vanished, where's the proof? Let's dig. Literally. Fact 1. Archaeologists have found shockingly few artifacts in Europe dated to the 7th to 9th centuries. In Germany, less than 1% of pottery shards from this era survive. Even coins are rare. Historian Dr. Hans Ulrich Niemitz noted, "The Carolingian Renaissance looks like a copy-paste of 10th century art. It's as if someone filled the gap with forgeries." Fact 2. But wait, what about dendrochronology? Tree ring dating in Germany's Hohenheim Oak Archive shows an unbroken record going back 12,000 years, except for a mysterious gap between 600 and 900 AD. Conspiracy theorists pounce. See, those trees never existed. Mainstream scientists counter, no, the samples just degraded. Who's right? The debate rages. The Vendel period in Sweden, 550 to 790 AD, is equally enigmatic. Graves from this era show stunning craftsmanship, like the iconic Vendel helmets, but almost no written records. If phantom time erased these centuries, how do we explain Sweden's silent golden age? Archaeologist Dr. Neil Price suggests oral traditions filled the gaps until monks wrote them down centuries later. In 2015, a farmer in France stumbled on a 7th century Merovingian tomb filled with 10th century Byzantine coins. Phantom time believers called it a time capsule planted by conspirators. Scholars rolled their eyes. Grave robbers reused the site. Here's where it gets wild. If Europe's history is fake, what about the rest of the world? Fact 1. Chinese records from the Tang Dynasty, from 618 to 907 AD, are staggeringly detailed. They mention solar eclipses, comet sightings, and even diplomatic contact with the Byzantine Empire. If those 300 years were phantom, how do we explain China's meticulously dated events? Illig's answer? Fact 2. In 1995, researchers used radiocarbon dating on a Viking ship buried in Norway. The result? Built around 890 AD. But if phantom time is real, that ship would have been from 593 AD, a time when Vikings didn't exist. The Oxford Radiocarbon Accelerator Unit called this irrefutable evidence against the hypothesis. Yet believers fire back. Carbon dating is flawed. The Anlushan Rebellion from 755 to 763 AD nearly toppled the Tang Dynasty. Chinese chronicles describe it in brutal detail: 13 million dead, cities razed, and even cannibalism. If this never happened, how do we explain the population drop in Chinese census records? Illig's followers argue the rebellion was real, but in the 10th century. A stretch? Absolutely. In 2003, a Tang-era star map was found in Dunhuang, China. It showed the night sky exactly as it would have looked in 700 AD. Astronomers confirmed its accuracy using software. Case closed. Not for Phantom Time fans. The map was a later copy. Let's play devil's advocate. Why would rulers invent 300 years? Fact 1. Power. Holy Roman Emperor Otto III supposedly wanted to rule in the year 1000 AD, a biblically symbolic date. But in the 10th century, he was stuck in the 990s. Solution? Let's add 297 years to the calendar. This would have let Otto claim divine right as the millennial king. Fact 2. The Church's role. In 1000 AD, the donation of Constantine, a forged document granting the Pope political power, was exposed as a fraud. Phantom Time theorists argue the Church invented the early Middle Ages to backdate their authority. A shadowy plot? Maybe. But as Professor Johannes Fried retorts, you'd need thousands of scribes to forge every record. Impossible to hide. The millennialism craze gripped Europe around 1000 AD. Many believed Christ's return was imminent, sparking pilgrimages, panic, and even self-flagellation. If Otto III manipulated time to align with this hysteria, he'd have cemented his legacy as God's chosen ruler. But historian Dr. Julia Smith notes, Otto died in 1002 AD. His grand plan, if it existed, died with him. In 2018, a Vatican archive revealed a 10th century letter from Otto III complaining about dating errors in church documents. Conspiracy circles exploded. Proof he was fixing the timeline. Academics shrugged. He was fixing typos. Before you rewrite your history books, let's hear the skeptics. Fact 1. Astronomers have cross-referenced ancient eclipse records. An 810 AD solar eclipse described by Charlemagne's biographer aligns perfectly with NASA's retroactive calculations. If those years were fake, the stars themselves would be in on the conspiracy. Fact 2. Islamic scholars like al-Biruni documented the 8th to 9th centuries in vivid detail, including the rise of the Abbasid Caliphate and advances in math. If Phantom Time erased those years, how do we explain Baghdad's House of Wisdom, a real physical library from the non-existent 800s? The Beowulf manuscript, dated to 1000 AD, references 6th century Scandinavian kings. If the Phantom Time gap is real, the poem's heroes would have lived in the 3rd century, yet their burial mounds, like the Sutton Hoo ship, align with 6th century artifacts. Historian Dr. Tom Shippey concludes, the timeline fits. No conspiracy needed. In 2020, a study of Icelandic volcano ash layers matched 9th century eruptions to global cooling events recorded in Arab and Chinese texts. If the 800s were fake, how do 3 continents agree? Phantom Time theorists mutter, coincidence. So did 300 years vanish? Most historians say no. The evidence from China, Islam, and astronomy is overwhelming. But the Phantom Time hypothesis forces us to ask, how do we know what we know? History is built on trust in ancient scribes, carbon atoms, and tree rings. Maybe the real lesson is this: question everything, but verify twice. If you're still doubting reality, hit like, subscribe, and rage comment below. This is Infinitia Verity, chasing truth.